Stop, Hulk, dirty. Enter, Hulk, clean. I've wanted to show the construction of some useful and practical 3D pen creations for a while now. One particular model that's been on my list to make is a 3D pen version of this clean and dirty sliding sign. I also made a few other versions to show what is possible and the various ways these can be made using a 3D pen. This one is definitely going on my dishwasher, but I also think these would be fun to put on your door or your desk to let people know what mood you're in.
I'm always angry.
These 3D pen creations that I've made were inspired by this 3D printed one. I've put a link to this in the video description. From a design standpoint, one of the more interesting parts about these signs is the sliding mechanism. Kahonk, right? 3D pens are good at making organic, curvy shapes, but not so good at making the precise surfaces needed to make a decent sliding mechanism. And since we're going to be using double stick tape to attach these to the wall, you need something that's going to be lightweight. From my day job, I have experience using these low-cost, lightweight linear slides. The rail is made from aluminum as opposed to steel, so it's nice and light. You can order a small 102mm rail and a single carriage for about $8, not including shipping. Let's now make a Hulk sign.
And Hulk. Smash.
To begin this whole process, I designed the signs in CAD. CAD is amazingly flexible, but it does have quite a learning curve. The models then let me very easily make templates or stencils which I can pen over. Best of all, I can quickly do a save as and then change the text to make other sign types. I actually started this build by making the sliding sign faceplate. Making a long, flat piece like this with a lot of straight edges is typically pretty hard when using a 3D pen. Here you can see that it just won't stay flat. So when building these, I decided to try a different method, which you'll see shortly. Here I'm adding a second layer on top. This is what the initial first two layers look like. You can see the heavy layer lines and a lot of peaks and valleys. If you've seen my last few videos, you know I've been experimenting with smoothing 3D pen creations using a toaster oven. Here's a time lapse of the first bake. Pretty sweet, and it helps to flatten it out. And no sanding. Here's what it looks like after that first bake. Obviously this still needs some work, but the beauty of this method is that you can keep baking it for better and better results. Here's why I use 2 layers. One layer is just way too flimsy. For cleanup after the first bake, I fill in the valleys and holes with a thin layer of filament. Then I do a quick smooth to even things out. I'm not worried at all about the appearance because I know the baking will smooth it out. Back into the oven for the second round of baking. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. The surface is much more even with only a few spots that we need to clean up. Sandpaper, be gone. Here I'm using the pointed tip on my wood burning tool to straighten out the windows, which creep a little bit during baking. I'm not going to show the third round of baking because the time lapse isn't very exciting. Instead, I'm going to jump to how I straighten out these long edges. I use a ruler and an X-Acto knife to scribe a straight line. Then I use my flush cutters to trim along that line. Finally, just a little smoothing to finish up the faceplate. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the back plate, which has the letters and will hold the rail. So first I cut out the letters on the mirrored stencil, because well, I'm going to pen on a mirror. The reason I pen on a mirror is because it makes a really flat surface and the letters show up more crisp and defined. So now the stencil is transferred to the mirror. Since I want to do the letters in different colors, I have to do those first. This is where it gets tricky. Since the mirror is so flat, the filament doesn't stick as well as it normally does. I'm also trying out some see-through filament for some of the letters. Once the letters were done, I filled in the rest of the sign using black filament. Look at that smooth, shiny surface. The difference is especially apparent when you flip it over and look at the side that wasn't touching the mirror. Now it's time to connect the rail to the backplate. These holes are normally meant for screws, but we can use a nice thick pillar of filament to hold it in place. Then I also add some filament along the perimeter to help hold the rail in place. You just have to be careful that you can still slide the carriage on the rail and that no filament sticks up to block the carriage's path. The next step is to attach the faceplate to the carriage. Again, these are meant for screws, but I'm just using filament and that works fine. Some careful smoothing to finish up, and the faceplate is attached. One of the things I really love about 3D penning is that you can quickly whip up accent pieces to make something like this really pop. Since this is a Hulk sign, I figured I could use his fist as the handle to move the sign. These are 3D pen techniques I've shown before, using foil and painter's tape to get the basic shape and then adding details on top. I considered using the oven to smooth this, but it's so small that wood burning was the right tool here. I'd say that's an important thing to remember. Don't get locked into one method or tool. Just use what's right for what you're trying to accomplish. This is just adding in the last few details and the finished fist. Attaching the handle is pretty simple. I use this hole and some filament or epoxy to fix it in place. Connecting it through the part and to the backside makes the attachment stronger. We're almost done. There's just one final thing we need to add. We need to build in some end stops so the position of the faceplate is set easily. To do that, we're going to add some tabs to the faceplate and the backplate. Then I just tape the faceplate in the desired position and use some tack adhesive putty to help attach the tab in place. To make the mating tab on the backplate, I just pen directly on it because it doesn't need to look as good. Then just a little trimming to get the heights right. And then the last bit of cleanup smoothing. This is what the end stop looks like in operation. And remember, there's one on each side. Here's our finished sign. Are you calm? Or the Hulk? As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to use VHB double stick tape to attach these to the wall. This stuff is strong. And here's what it looks like when installed on a door. Remember how I said I use see-through filament? Well, I never expected it to look this good when lit from behind. This actually gives me ideas for future projects. What if there were LEDs lighting it from behind? Now I'm going to show you an easier way to make the backplate. As I mentioned earlier, letters are a little difficult to get right with a 3D pen. So if you want an easier and quicker way to make these signs, all you need to do is print out the template at 100% scale and then simply color in the letters. Once you have the colors and the letters to your liking, you simply glue it onto the backplate. Ooh, another opportunity for a custom handle. Alright, who knows what it's going to be? Just shout it out. Oh, wait. Yeah, a traffic light seemed appropriate here. I could see this as being a nice sign for your door to let people know when they really should stay out. The final sign is the one that inspired this whole video. I don't know how many times it's been asked in my house, are these dishes clean or dirty? Ah, the final custom handle. Weird random fact. Do you guys know how often I cut my nails for these videos to keep them short? I hope you appreciate that. And now we will know in my house whether the dishes are clean or dirty. Some final shots of all three signs together. I thought these came out pretty well, and there's something useful you can make with your 3D pen. I hope to make some other videos showing useful 3D pen creations. Would you like to see more of this? Leave me a comment down below if you would. And if you're interested in trying to make your own sliding signs, I put links to my templates and the other parts you'll need in the video description. If you're interested in learning more about using a 3D pen, check out the tutorials playlist, which covers all skill levels. Or if you want to learn more about baking to smooth 3D pen creations, have a look at this. Finally, don't forget to subscribe if you want more 3D pen content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.